Hey, Michael Church, Crawl Space Ninja, and we are back at the Extreme Condensation Crawl Space, and we're going to take a look. The Ninja's got all done, got everything soda blasted, got our package installed, and let's go take a look and see what it looks like. Okay, so we are in the Extreme Condensation Crawl Space. A couple things I wanted to mention that Crawl Space Ninja does that's a little different than a lot of the competition we have out there is in the entranceway we try to double up on vapor barrier when possible. That way as you come in, it's kind of like the part of the crawl space that gets the most traffic. We also try to leave a little bit of tape and vapor barrier behind, so that way if there's the homeowner gets in here and they accidentally cut something, or a contractor gets in here, it gives the homeowner an opportunity to repair the plastic. But let's look at what we did up here. So we soda blasted all of the crawl space. All right, we applied a disinfectant and then applied a protectant. So as you might be able to see in the video, a lot of the wood actually has a white tracer on it, so that way as they're applying the protectant, they can see that as they're putting it on, and then it gives our inspector the opportunity to see that as well. We also made sure we had our termite gap. We got our foam board behind the plastic. We used our Hilti GX3 to apply the plastic over the foam board, and we hooked up the foam board with the DX5. And remember, you DIYers out there, if you want to lease the DX5 and the GX3 on our webpage now, you can do that if you decide you want to go through and knock this plastic and foam board out real fast. You of course can do the Christmas tree fasteners as well. Then we also make sure we spray foam any kind of intrusions that we come across. We spray foam the boots, any major penetrations in electrical. As you can see over there where Pedro is sitting, we'll pan over there in just a minute. We've got the vents sealed up. We had to do it a different way than usual. We had to seal each part of the vent, so that way we make sure the crawl space is sealed except for the air that we want to exit out of the crawl space through our active ventilation system. Our active ventilation fan, the Lamanco PCB1 fan installed, and what this is doing is it is actually drawing air out of the crawl space. Of course, if you've seen any of our videos, you know that it's real important to make sure you don't create a soil gas problem by encapsulating the crawl space. And what many companies do, and I can't believe they still do this because we've had a lot of videos telling them that they're not supposed to do this, but they still do it. Some of them have caught on, but you want to make sure that you draw air out of the crawl space on a continual basis. And of course the Whisper fan or the Lamanco PCB1 is a great way to do that. Most crawl space companies, they'll install one of these and then they'll adjust the humidity or adjust the fan to only run when the humidity is a certain level. But what we want is we want the fan to run all the time. So we just go ahead and turn it on, so that way it's constantly running. Just putting the crawl space under a little bit of negative pressure just to make sure all those soil gases are being taken out of the crawl space on a regular basis. Okay, so now I'm next to the Aprilaire dehumidifier. As you can see, it is at 57% relative humidity. Now the cool thing about the Aprilaire is it actually tests based on dew point. All right, so it's trying to get the dew point to the proper level down here to prevent condensation. But we have had homeowners that have gotten the Aprilaire from us, and their crawl space is really humid, or they're not 100% sure if the Aprilaire is working. So what you can do is you can take your humidity reader. Now this is the intake side, okay? So you can take your humidity reader and you can put it on the blowing out side and test the humidity. And we'll do that here. Right here you can see the humidity is dropping because the air coming out of the dehumidifier is very low. Typically this Aprilaire machine will produce between 30 and 40% relative humidity. And it's a pretty big space that it's got to dehumidify. So what we do is we install the dehu during phase 1 to begin the drying process as soon as possible. So that way when we do our mold remediation, and all that, the humidity is kept at normal levels. The other thing that you got to remember is if you go back and you apply a disinfectant that's liquid, that raises the humidity again. So even after all of the soda blasting is done, the disinfectant's applied, and the X70 is applied, we're having to do another drying process because all that disinfectant and X70 has gotten the wood wet again and all that. So now the Dehu is working hard to drop that humidity and that dew point back down. So typically that could take a few weeks to happen. So don't be surprised if immediately after doing an encapsulation where you have to do mold remediation, if the humidity is not pretty high for a couple of weeks. Okay, so we are getting ready to enter the really bad area that had a lot of mold in it. But just one thing, the Dehu is over there, and the Ninja's pointed the dry air towards the back of the crawl space. The wet air always chases the dry air, so the dehumidifier is able to eventually create equilibrium in most cases. Now, of course, you know, some crawl spaces are so large that you might need multiple dehumidifiers, but in this case we've got a 90 pint dehumidifier covering about a 2,500 square foot crawl space, so it's more than adequate. So you can see here our humidity back here is about 47%, which is great. So you know, you want to keep your crawl space between basically 45 and 55% relative humidity, and of course temperature and all that has to do with dew point and everything, but just from a general standpoint, 45 to 50% are good numbers to have. So we're going to go back here, and I don't know what, I haven't seen it, so I'm expecting that the wood, it might be tore up from the soda blasting. I mean, let's just go take a look and see what we see. Wow. So here it is, right? So think about it this way. If we were not a company that did soda blasting, how in the world would we have been able to clean the mold off of this wood? I mean, do you think you can scrub down to that? That fungus, that wood destroying fungus, was so bad, it actually destroyed the wood, which is why it's called wood destroying fungus, right? So this stuff is just vicious on wood. You can still see this one's not as bad, but we're probably going to have to do some sistering of joists back in here, and maybe do some leveling out of the floor and different things. But we wanted to get everything, the mold removed and all of the wood dry before we assess that, because a lot of companies out there, they would have came in here, and if you had a bowing floor or some kind of structural problem or sagging floor joist or something, some companies or people would have just stuck a post jack up here and left it. Well, as wet as the wood was, as soon as that wood dried out, that post jack may have fallen over, because in the winter when that wood dries out, the wood shrinks, and the post jack loses its effectiveness. But if you control the environment, if you'll control the humidity and all that inside the crawl space, when you install that post jack, it'll be permanent, because you don't have to worry about the wood getting wetter and growing or shrinking because it dried out. So, but this is a lot of damage that we were able to get all that mold off, and now we can see the wood for what it is, and now we can address the floor or the structural issues that might be in this crawl space. It's still very, very fragile. I don't even want to mess with it. I mean, it's amazing how destructive wood rot fungus is. Most people are all about termites, and they obviously are very destructive, but this is what happens when you let a condensation problem get out of control. This crawl space didn't flood. It wasn't from flooding. This is all from humidity, from these ducts condensating and just creating a massive condensation problem. I don't know if you remember, maybe they can throw some images up, but even the wood itself was condensating. There was so much moisture in the wood and the fiberglass. There was water everywhere. So this is water damage, mold, wood rot fungus. This is the destructive power of what can happen whenever you let your crawl space go without controlling humidity. Okay, so I appreciate you all coming with me in this crawl space, and I just want to reiterate the power of soda blasting, okay? Because, I mean, if you're hiring a company that's going to take care of the mold and they are not physically removing the wood rot fungus or the mold with soda blasting, there's a great chance they're not going to get all of it. And you know, you've got to make sure. I mean, hand scrubbing is one of the things that a lot of companies do, but a lot of times we found that hand scrubbing mold, especially really thick mold, all it does is just smear it. It doesn't really remove it. So soda blasting is a great way to visibly remove and physically remove the mold. Then you apply your disinfectant and protectant. And now you've got a crawl space that'll stand the test of time. It's been treated with not only the X70, which keeps the mold from coming back, but it also keeps the wood from absorbing moisture. That's a lot of things that's overmissed about the X70 is it actually prevents the wood from absorbing moisture. So you got your dehu running, you've got your active ventilation system, you got all your vapor barrier down, you're well insulated, all the mold's been addressed, and now you have a worry-free crawl space. So my name is Michael Church with Crawl Space Ninja. We hope you make it a happy and blessed day, and we'll see you later.